Before the video starts, make sure you follow our socials in the description and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Welcome back to the Offbeat Podcast, back again this week with a brand new episode, and I am joined by my second wrestler, my first sort of full-time professional wrestler as well. I am joined by Ginha, all the way from sunny Canada as well. How are you, mate?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for joining me. I mean, we've had to sort of work around the time difference, haven't we? Because it's currently 10 a.m. where you are and 5 p.m. in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, straight. We're 7 hours behind.
Oh dear. I mean, that's a bit of a big change. And you've only just recently moved to Canada full time, haven't you?
Yeah. So it took us about, what would you say, 2 weeks to get past the jet lag, something like that, and that was hard.
I bet it was.
It's been so worth it.
I know we were discussing this a little bit pre-sort of recording, but I find your story fascinating. So just to give a bit of context, do you want to just explain sort of what you do in your spare time, what you do professionally in sort of the world of wrestling?
So I'm basically out in Calgary. I'm based out of Calgary, wrestling wherever I can. Want to open eventually like my own school, but I'm looking to do seminars and wherever I can and just teach a bit of the British style over here because they love it here. It's so like nice to be appreciated for like my work and my style. But I've got some international stuff coming up. Maybe come back to the UK, but that's all in time.
Nice. I mean, it's all in time. I mean, you've kind of done the UK circuit fantastically, haven't you? You've sort of wrestled the who's who of sort of like British pro wrestling. Some of the promotions you've worked on, obviously, I know a Future Shock just because it's where, obviously, I'm sort of based. But what other promotions have you sort of worked for in the UK?
I've done TNT. I've done Infinite, Infamous, Britannia Wrestling in Wales. Mainly, my main one was All-Star Wrestling back in the day. I'm trying to think now. I've done Rise. I've done most of the Northwest.
Yeah.
And some down south, but that's it really.
How does it work with the seminaring then? So do you sort of seminar with sort of up and coming wrestlers, people who haven't started yet, or
I'm quite happy in the sense of I can do everyone in one session. The way I style my seminars is everyone can do it, and I don't pick on like the major things. Like if there's a guys that can come in and blast like a spot that I can show them, there'll be something that I'll nitpick, and it'll be the smallest little thing that'll make the biggest change. Or I can be in there with someone that's never even took a slam, and I can go through that with them. But it's like, it's how I've been taught and my way. Like they always say, you can do so many ways and it's all right. But I will show you my way because it's very different to someone else that you'll learn from.
I mean, the variety of styles is mental within sort of the world of wrestling. There's so many. And obviously, with you being a luchador, obviously, if you can't tell people by watching, he's by the mask himself, he is a luchador at heart. And being a luchador from sort of like Merseyside area is wild to me. How did that come about?
So I reinvented myself in the lockdown. It was a bit stale what I was doing.
Okay.
So, and because when I was younger, my first like initial matches and everything, I was actually under a mask. Okay. Like, have you ever been to like a Butlins or a Haven and you see that one superhero that wrestles?
Yeah.
That is where I started. That is the joys that I got to do. And you know what? That helped me so much in the style of like selling in matches, because they can't obviously see my face to a crowd. They can't really tell I'm in pain facially. So I learned how to use like my body to show out that I'm in pain.
Nice, because that's a huge part of sort of wrestling. It's sort of facial expressions, knowing who's a heel, who's a face, sort of thing. Whereas people got going blind with you, really. So is it all about sort of like how you move your body? How do you sort of?
It's the sort of persona attitude that I put out. So it's where my favorite one, and it works so well, and it's so cheap. I'll go to high five a kid, but I'll move my hand straight away. that whole side's booing me, and it's like, wow, that was nice, nice and easy.
Easy, straight away. You've done your job. Your promoter's happy with you straight away, and,
Yeah.
and then you can move from there. Definitely. Obviously, traditionally with luchadors, they don't do a lot of mic talking as well. So is that sort of the same with you? Do you not really get on the mic, or?
I'm very open to get onto the mic, but I've not really been. I've given the most mic work I've actually done recently was leaving when I was doing my final bye to my promotions. That was the only time like they would have heard me on a mic. But I'm so open to doing mic stuff because it helps me learn more as well.
Of course, yeah, 'cause it's a huge part of wrestling, especially in America. I mean, the promos. There's so many sort of like smaller sort of wrestling promotions now that are doing weekly shows or doing
Hmm.
all the. Like, if you look at, I'm using Future Shock example as well. They're putting social content out all the time, promoting the
Yeah.
matches, and these are majority of people in there are people who are sort of newish to the pro game, really. So it's a huge sort of aspect to learn on there.
Like back
Um,
onto the promo stuff. Like
mhm,
before I actually started going to promo classes with Chris Brooker, I was like very timid. I didn't know what to say. It was really like it was a hard ball to like. He threw me straight in the deep end and was like, "Go on, go and cut one." And I was like, "Geez, how? Why? What do I talk about?" But from him and like the support of my wife, because her promos and interviewing skills are like top notch. I've learned off them both just to make me come out of my shell on a speaking side of things, which
nice.
has just been incredible. So now I'm like ready to go. Give me a mic and I'll just start talking and we'll see what happens.
So how do the classes sort of work then for you? Like so was it just a case of you bought like a 10 section and you every single like sort of session you did something different with promos? How did it sort of work?
So it would be like a theme of the week. So it'd be like
Okay.
character building. It'd be this week you're going to be a heel promo. This week you're going to be face promo. But then also we had like the fun of he'd give you a name of someone and then you had to cut a promo on them, and that was just they were so fun. His promo I couldn't recommend anyone better in the UK to go and learn off promos than Chris Brooker.
Nice. So is that so where did you actually originally train out of as well? So did you train out of sort of like Merseyside?
Yeah, so I started training with All Star Wrestling, and that was in it when I rocked up. That was they were in Birkenhead, and then they moved to Port Sunlight, and then they went to Neston. So they moved around a bit just because of like lives, and they were moving. Yeah, so Dean Allmark was teaching there. I learned everything off Dean. Now I think he's back teaching. I'm not too sure. I said, yes, he's back teaching again. So if you look on Dean's socials, you'll see where he's teaching.
Excellent. So did you just started out at All Seven? How did you go moving into a promotions then? Is it like a word of mouth thing? Is it a case of using social media?
So when I started going out, it was social media wasn't as big as it is now. It was kind of a good word in here, a good word in there. But my thing that I learned from a young age was that we had to do our miles to say. Like I did some of the summer camps and that was 6 weeks, 60 shows. So we were doing 10 shows a week and I had to build every ring and travel all the
Jesus.
miles, carry all the boys' bags, like all the big veterans, like Gangrel. I've had to carry his bags and it was just part of the game.
Because you see that I'm doing a reference sort of like football here as well. Because like the old school football way was always like up and comers used to do the boots, do all this, do the change room and
Hmm.
stuff. So you actually do it in professional wrestling as well. So does everyone just sort of like know the rules? Is it like sort of like character building sort of thing?
So yeah, it's you've got to literally like earn your stripes to say, and then see this is my personal like theory of it is, you do all your miles to say, then you go and referee matches. You learn so much being a referee. I was a referee when I first
Nice.
started, and then that's when you can go into your match. You get your first match, and then that's when you can start branching out. Like
So do you think so? Like majority of like the referees on the UK circuit, then are they aspiring sort of pro wrestlers then?
not really now because
Okay.
James Greenwood runs a school, runs a class out of Future Shot. And some of the referees, like, I'm really good friends with some of them. And do you know what? Like, these are the guys that some are the guys that tried wrestling and it wasn't for them, but now they're in it a different way.
It sort of makes sense because some people's bodies are not made to wrestle. Let's be totally honest here. Like
Yeah.
taking bump after bump after bump, night after night after night. Some people's bodies aren't. So it's a good way of sort of making sure you're still within the wrestling scene, especially if you. Same with that announcers as well. Announcers.
Yeah.
I mean, announcing is a very specific skill. Have you ever given a go, sort of like ringside commentary or anything like that?
Nope, not a chance. Like, I could do comms, but I don't think I could stand there and be like announce. Do you know what? If I got to a point when I'm like years and years away now,
Of course.
because I know that no matter what happens to me in wrestling, I'm always going to be in it. Like, if when the day comes that I have to hang up my boots, I'm going to be doing something in it still.
Yeah, it doesn't leave you at all, definitely.
No.
So, speaking of that, so obviously you made that huge sort of shift in there. So, what has been sort of the main shift in you going to kind of event? Are you getting more opportunities? Are you getting bigger crowds? More promotions are approaching you? What was the sort of shift to move there?
So this year I did a month tour in the US and I got some amazing opportunities out there, and I got approached for some opportunities out here, and that was it. I just couldn't say no, so I took that, and they've given me an inch and I'm running a mile. I'm taking every opportunity I can get.
Excellent. So, is that based in Calgary where you're getting majority of your opportunities, or are they across sort of like Canada?
Basically, it's based in Calgary, but I am getting little bits here and there. But it's going to be like, you'll see if you go on my socials now, you'll see bigger things coming in. And I'm
Nice.
going back to the US. I've actually spoke to someone this week and we're going to be sorting out flight.
It is exciting, definitely, because we were talking about the travel over there. So obviously, in the UK, from where you were based, you could kind of an hour in a few different directions. You've still got a few cities in line, whereas you're gonna have to really, really travel to sort of get to these shows.
Yeah, like Thursday night there's a show and it's 5 hours there. Then we have to do the show and then 5 hours back. And you know what? If that was home, you'd be staying down there, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be
Oh
traveling.
yeah.
Nope, not here. These guys are like, right, let's go. And we're straight back on the road.
Did you have to build the ring and stuff as well in these promotions
Yeah.
in America as well?
Mm-hmm.
So you
Like,
still got to do everything.
but do you know what? Like, I personally, I don't think it matters who you are. You still should do a ring. Like, yeah, it's nice to not, but there's an old story that stuck with me. Someone was talking about this exact thing. Terry Funk was still doing it. Like, God rest his soul. That man was still building rings, and he's done everything at that point, but he's still there helping. It's the same. If you want to work in that ring tonight, then you've got to build it. It's the same with like training schools. Like when I first started again, we had to build the ring before we even got to train. It was like, if you want to train today, get the ring up. So it's how it is.
I suppose it puts you on the same level as everyone else, because everyone's going to have degree in different experiences,
Yeah.
different everything really. So it puts you everyone on the same. So even on the bill, I suppose the opening match is just as important as sort of the main event, isn't it? Really,
Of
because you're there to
course.
do a whole show.
The beginning match is the one to make the people that have brought their kids and say the dad's never seen wrestling before. That first match shows you what wrestling is, and that's the best thing. Every match is important.
Is that what you look forward to the most? Then do you love opening up the show more than sort of like main eventing, or are you just not that bothered?
Do you know what? I just like them all. I like anywhere on the card, wherever I am on a card. I'm gonna do what needs to be done. Like, as long as I get to wrestle, I'm happy.
Oh, nice. I meant, so how much goes into sort of like the pre-match sort of element of it? Because obviously you need to know sort of like the finish, who's going to win, everything like that. So how much goes into it on these house shows then? Because sometimes you may be getting booked same week.
Yeah, so it just depends on the person, I'd say. Like, before any match that I'm doing, I'm stretched out, I'm warmed up. Me and the other person know what we're doing. That's all I'm happy with. Just as long as that I can go out there and have a good match, I'm happy.
So seeing like you and the other person knows sort of like what you're doing. How
Mhm.
in depth do you go to it? Is it just some basic points? Are you sort of scripting every minute of the match? How does it sort of work?
So I just have the start and the finish. So
Okay.
I'll have my shine. I'm gonna call the heat out there. So I have a feat like this is me again personally. I like
Hmm.
to feel the crowd and see where we're at. Like if you ever watch any of my matches on YouTube, like you'll see that I'm constantly listening out in the crowd, but you won't realize that I'm doing it. But I feed off the crowd, and I'll know when to put the hope spots in and stuff like that. You'll see me work it. It's great.
It's very similar to like it's like stand up comedy, then, isn't it? Really, it's like every other art. You need to be listening to the crowd. So it's so how sort of does it compare to say if you had like a really quiet crowd, more like a family friendly sort of crowd with
Hmm.
majority sort of children? How does that sort of differ to the ones where obviously you've got the diehards in there? Like, how would you sort of be a little bit more sort of overreactive? Would you try sort of exaggerate things a bit more to the children? How would it work?
So like you say with the children's side of things, it depends on which side I am. If I'm the heel, I'm gonna find that one gobby kid that's like dying to get in the ring, and I'm gonna pick on him because then everyone else is gonna team up against me, and it's gonna be me versus the room. That's how I work it. And then same again if I'm a baby face and I'm getting the like beat down, I'm gonna find that kid and like make the eye contact because that's the main thing, especially in a mask. Once you make that eye contact with someone, that's it. You like connected. So I'll play to that kid to help me, and he'll tell all of his friends, "Let's help him," and the crowd are all on my side. That's how I'll work a family show.
Excellent. So, I wanted to touch a little bit about the UK scene now because the UK scene is thriving. It
Mhm.
is growing and growing and growing.
Definitely.
And a big part for me that I thought was sort of the introduction of like the YouTube, the fan sort of led content and stuff. Do
Yeah.
you think that's really helped sort of like push the UK scene?
Definitely, it's putting more eyes on the scene. I feel like there is some hidden gems in like British wrestling. There's like definitely that hidden gem that people have not seen before or heard of. It's a bit like myself. I'm not like blowing smoke up my arse, like, but I've come over here and I've been appreciated for my work and stuff. Over back in the UK, of course, I was appreciated for my work, but like no one knew who I was here. Where
Right.
if we were given like such a bigger platform to all use and stuff and get everyone watching, we could have some major stars in the UK.
I agree. I mean, look at some of the stars in WWE, and sort of over the last 5 years, you've got like your Pete Dunnes, for example, your
Yeah.
Tyler Bates. You've got so many people sort of coming through, and I mean, it just shows there's so much talent sort of over here. Who would you say are your sort of like hidden gems on the UK scene? Then, who are the wrestlers that you love to watch yourself?
Oh, so there's a I. It's a bit biased because he's one of my really close friends,
Mhm.
or secret besties. Uh,
I mean, you can be biased. You can be biased, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, 100%. I will be. So there's a guy called Bodak, or as I like to call him, Bodackle, which I think he should use because that's just a great name. He's like, oh God, I got to have my very last match in the UK with him, and that was like so like dear to my heart, and especially like from the first time I met him to when I left, the improvement on him's just incredible. And I'm so happy to see like him getting more like shows now, and it's just so great to see.
I mean, definitely. And then who are the people who you've sort of wrestled apart from sort of all that where you thought, oh Jesus, that was a top match. Like, who do you look forward on a bill to wrestling the most?
Oh, there's a guy called Tony Wright. I love a good match with Tony. I'm trying to think because there's so many. Oh, there was one match that I didn't actually get, and I've completely forgot about it. So
Mhm.
there's a girl called Leah Raven, and whenever we train together, we'd have so much like it would work so well because we could just go in and beat the crap out of each other. But I never got to wrestle her when I
Oh.
left. So I'm hoping one day I can come back and we can finally get that match.
So what are your future plans then? Because obviously apart from you obviously said that you go in and doing that tour of sort of America again. Are
Hmm
you looking to push out overseas, go to different countries? What's like your plans moving forward?
So I'd love to get to Mexico at some point because,
Nice.
well,
Obviously.
and Japan. Mexico and Japan are like my two goals. Like Japan is just so crazy because it's so like respect. They're like celebrities everywhere, and the crowds over there love wrestling, and I just want to be a part of that.
And also, they do love the British as well, the English. Like they really, really get behind. Like Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr. Like they
Yeah, yeah.
love that. Would you sort of be pushing to try and get on the mic to show that you are sort of British? Get them.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I say to promotions, like my first thing is, do you need a promo? Do you need this? Do you need that? Just so I can be more of an asset. So like, it's just so like fans aren't coming in blind to what I actually can do and where I'm from and stuff like that. Because over here as well, as soon as they say Manchester, England, I'll get booed straight away, and I'm like, easy day. But I'd like to go to somewhere, especially like Japan, and them to be like, oh, from England, and then be like, right, we're gonna see some tech crazy stuff. But that's like I say, that's my style. I have like a hybrid, so it's British wrestling and lucha, but in my own unique way.
I mean, you've got to be unique, haven't you? You've got so there's
You
so
got
many
to
wrestlers
stick
out
out.
there. You need to put your own sort of spin on there. How do you sort of put your own spin on sort of like because luchadors have been around for
Hmm
decades and decades, whatever. Like they're huge. Everyone knows what a luchador is. So how do you put your British spin on it?
So when I do, there's the thing that I do is, you know, the finger snap that everyone, well, Pete
Yes, yeah,
Dunne,
yeah, yeah. Pete Dunne's made it famous, hasn't he?
yeah. So I bring that, but where it'd be lucha style, I can run. We can go running round the ring, but then I'll slow it back down by bringing the British style of it, and then it's just making myself more like British in a lucha style, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So I
Yeah.
can go as quick, but I can't be like, I will slow it back down again.
And how does it work during the lucha style when you are doing like the house shows? Because obviously with your style, it has to be high intensity. Doing a lot of flips, you're doing a lot of sort of acrobatics. How do you basically stay fit throughout the week? How do you make sure you're not getting injured? You're making sure is it the stretching? Is it the aftercare? What are
So
your sort of secrets?
literally, I will be having the biggest, like, I will stretch morning and night. We've just, in our new apartment, we've just got a bath. So I'm like, I was never a bath person. Now I've unlocked something and I am a fully bath person and letting my muscles set. And it is just stretching and getting all like my goods in. So I've just got a new protein shake that's high calories, and it's just making sure that my body's as healthy as it can be.
Nice. I meant, how does the gym sort of routine go in there? Because obviously you're going to be on the road a lot of your nights. So how are
Yeah.
you sort of fitting in your gym sessions? Are you sort of like mornings going to be a gym, leave evenings for shows, or how do you sort of fluctuate your week?
So it's when I can get in the gym, I'll be in the gym. But a lot of times, because the poocher door's here, I have to take him out, so I make him run. So we go for our little runs together because
So you got to keep active, and you've got to
you,
keep
you,
that
you
fitness
can't
levels up.
just sit and let it go because you're not going to be in the best shape you can be.
And how often do you get sort of like the late call outs to shows, or is usually everything quite well in advance?
Everything's very well in advance. I know what I'm doing. So I've got my main schedule, but then also I had quite recently, I don't know if you know promotions over here, there's Top Talent Wrestling.
Hmm.
I got booked the week before their show, and that was so fun. Like, I've seen them all on socials, and I was like, oh, I'd love to work there. And then I got the chance to work there, and it was actually their first show in Calgary.
Nice.
So like it was nice to be a part of that because there was people like Jimmy Lloyd, Joey Janela, Mike Santana on the show. So it was just great to be in a locker room with them.
How does the locker room aspect sort of work? Then are you usually like quite quiet? Are you usually quite
I
how does the locker room work?
So for me personally, I'll do my rounds. I'll say hello to everyone. I'll speak to the person that I'm working with, and then I kind of just get changed and just relax and the calm before the storm.
Of course, yeah. Is it sort of like usually after the show? Is that where sort of like it's a little bit more high energy? You got people chatting about what you did here, what you did here.
Yeah. Like I'll always go and ask for feedback on what stuff I can improve on because you've never fully learned everything. To this day I'm still learning little bits that I can work on, and that is my main goal. Like as long as I can work on every little bit after a show, I'm happy.
Oh, excellent! Especially as a 14-year veteran saying that. Now, I wanted to end on a little part when I was reading up online about you. There's a lot of talk about your work in the deathmatch
Hmm.
sort of area, which is a little bit sort of alien to probably a lot of mainstream wrestling fans because you don't get that death matches on TV. So
No, no.
could you just explain sort of what the premise of a death match is, how it sort of works?
So a death match is the step above a hardcore match. Like to me, death match is an art. You have to. Everyone thinks that deathmatch people just come running in with light tubes, barbed wire, and like some do. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but it is an art. You have to. You're telling a story, so it is the extreme side of wrestling, and the buzz off that is completely different to any other buzz you'll ever have. I mean, obviously you're gonna be hurt, but you know what? There's such a buzz behind it, and the deathmatch crowds are just as crazy as the wrestlers. To say they want to see the violence and the blood, but they also appreciate that you're actually putting your body through it. So it's just really nice to be a part of it. But I don't really do it anymore.
No, yeah, but they're usually older crowds, aren't they? And I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to
No.
have a certain time span, haven't you, in order to do that?
Yeah.
Because for people who
Okay.
don't know, like it's usually sort of like underground wrestling as well, isn't it? Where it
Yeah.
could be anywhere.
But do you know it's getting a lot bigger. Like back to Japan, Big Japan Wrestling. That is like some of their main like shows are just deathmatch shows. But like in the States, it's very big. But back in England, if you're in the scene, you'll know like Rise, Kumite, TNT are the ones for the deathmatch shows.
Right, so it's a lot sort of work on there. And how do the deathmatch shows sort of work in regards to the match itself? Because do you find yourself talking a lot more in depth about what weapons you're going to use, when you're going to use them, or is it a case of you've got to start and the end again, and then you just work out in between?
So I think each person is different. So for me is I'll have a spot in place. Like the one I did in LA, we all picked what weapons we wanted, and we were like, right, I'm going to go through that. If you pick the weapon, you're going through it. That's the rule.
Oh, nice, yeah, yeah.
So
You got to set yourself up.
oh yeah, you got to very much get psyched. But when we were in LA, and I picked the light tubes with the board because it was a boards match. Everything was on a board. I picked the four light tubes. I was like, I want them. Because I bought white shorts. I was like, they're gonna get covered in blood and they're gonna look cool and all that. And it come to the spot. I was sat on the middle, and the guy throws me off, and I just bump into them. I got the smallest cut on my shoulder from it all, and I was like, man,
Come on, give
yeah.
me
I was
some
like,
more.
I've picked these light tubes for a reason. I was like, it's gonna cut my back, and there's gonna be blood everywhere. No, a little farty cut.
I mean,
I was so
it's a different world that way. You want to get hurt. Like, that is a mental aspect of sort of wrestling.
but
You're like,
from that
hurt
side,
me.
all I think about is the cool footage in the picture. But
Nice.
as well, it's like there's going to be people sat in that crowd going, like everyone knows, like that's sharp and it hurts. But then to see us go through it, we look like superhumans to them.
I mean, you would do. I mean, I couldn't even think about going through a light tube at all.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're just happy to go straight through it, 100%.
Yeah, not anymore though.
No, I don't blame. What are some like the wildest injuries you've had then through sort of wrestling? Have you had any where you're like, that was bad?
Oh God, where do I start? So back to a death match. I put some light tubes on like 2 chairs.
Mm-hmm.
I went to throw the guy out, but he reverse drop kicked me out, and I went through them. But because the light tubes went up, I was like more on my side, and I got like stabbed here with a light tube. A few months ago, I was in a match, and the guy went for a choke slam, but like the throw behind, and I landed awkwardly on my ankle, and it like popped out of place mid match. So I had to put that back in myself, and me being the silly person I was then, I was carrying on. I want to carry on. Like
you carried on the match after popping your ankle out, please?
I tried to, but the guy pinned me down and was like, "Don't you fucking move!" And I was like, "Okay."
Concede. It's like a naughty dog when you're like, yep, no worries.
Yeah. And I was like, "I'm just gonna lie here," but I made the mistake of just being like, once we got backstage, I just was like, "I'll walk it off. I'll be all right." But then I started feeling the swelling in the boot, and I made the mistake of telling my wife. I was like, "Oh no, I'm fine. You know, I'm coming home now. I've only hurt it a little bit," and then it looked broken because we went to the hospital the next day, and the nurse was like, "It didn't pop out of place," and I was like, "Well, I know my body." I was like, "You've never met a wrestler. We're different breeds of people." It was back in place. I actually put it back perfectly in place, so I was quite chuffed with myself.
It weren't your first rodeo, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, because I've had like my knees dislocate, and I've got like a twisted finger because I did a dive out and I hit seats and it like popped it, so it was like here, and I had to pull it back. That was rough.
Different breed. I couldn't even think about it, mate. Massive thanks for joining me today. Can you just shout out your socials? Is that all right? Just so we can find you.
So Instagram is Ginha_PW. Same for Twitter. And Facebook, if you type in Ginha, you'll find my Facebook page. And my TikTok is the same. There we go.
Is that your wife making sure, doing all the admin, make sure you get everything sort of posted on there?
Yeah, she's my manager because, you know, me being me, I know if someone offers me a silly, like, rules like match, I'll go, "Oh yeah, I'll do that." But let's think of the bigger picture. I'm not going to go there for a few $100 to then get seriously injured and be out.
Yeah, so and then be out for the next 2 months.
Exactly.
Don't blame you at all, mate. Massive thanks anyway. If this is your first time listening to the Offbeat Podcast or watching the Offbeat Podcast, please do subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Spotify. Let me know who you want to see on there. I'm going to try and push and get a few more sort of pro wrestlers on there because the stories are so just wild to me and they're great to me. But massive thanks, Ginha.
No problem. Thank you.
And I shall see you in the next episode. Thank you.